Elizabeth Wilson from the Perth Pilates studio, and today I'm going to be taking you through an introductory Pilates mat class. So today's class is perfect for you if you've never actually done Pilates ever before in your life. It takes you through the basic foundational concepts that we work with in Pilates and also a certain amount of the basic level Pilates floor repertoire. Now today's class isn't going to be as much of a workout as our regular classes. We won't get through quite as many exercises as usual because I'm assuming it's your first time through everything, but it's going to give you a really good foundation that you can then build from in your subsequent classes. The one prop I'll be working with today is a yoga strap. If you don't have a yoga strap at home, just grab a bath towel and have that handy near you. And otherwise, you want to be working on some sort of a cushioned surface. So if you've got a floor mat, an exercise mat, that's great. Or even just something like a carpeted surfaces behind you, below you, or something like that. Okay, so we're going to start off going through some of the basic concepts that we work with in Pilates. Now, as you probably know, in Pilates, we have a lot of focus on our core muscles. And these core muscles around our spine are the muscles that support our posture. In particular, we're interested in the deep abdominal muscles. Basically, in your abdominal area, you've got 4 layers of muscles. The deepest layer is a muscle called the transverse abdominis, and it runs in like a horizontal band around your waist. And the purpose of this muscle is to, basically when it activates, it compresses your abdominal contents, and in the process of doing that, increases your intra-abdominal pressure, which supports your spine, kind of stiffens and gives support for your spine. So this muscle is particularly important, and it forms almost like a cylinder running around our core into the deep back muscles. That system of support, that cylinder of support, works really well so long as we have a nice strong top on the cylinder and also a nice strong bottom. The top of the cylinder is made up of our diaphragm, which is the main muscle that we use when we breathe. So this is one of the reasons why we have a lot of focus on the breath in Pilates. Proper use of the breath has a really big effect on your core stability. The bottom of the cylinder is made up of the muscles of the pelvic floor that line the bottom of your pelvis. Now, very commonly what happens when people first start doing strong abdominal work is they might get a really good engagement in their abdominals, which really increases that intra-abdominal pressure, but they don't have enough support at the bottom of the pelvis in order to resist that pressure. So the pelvic floor kind of drops down and that increased abdominal pressure kind of gets lost out the bottom. So whenever we start with our abdominal work in Pilates, we start from the ground up. We start from the pelvic floor first. So to give you a little bit of an idea of where your pelvic floor is and how to activate it, I'm going to have you coming into a sitting position, and I want you sitting so that you can feel your sitting bones, those bones at the bottom of your backside, down into the floor. So in my case, I'm sitting cross-legged. If you're comfortable sitting upright and cross-legged, that's great. But if you find it tough to sit upright, like if you're rounded through the back here or sort of straining to hold in the position, you could sit up on a couple of phone books, or you can even start this first exercise sitting in a chair. The most important thing is that you can get your back just into a nice, easy, upright kind of position. And I'm going to have you imagining here, you've got your pelvis. You can feel your 2 sitting bones on the left and right sides of the pelvis that you're sitting on. You've got the pubic bone at the front of your pelvis, and you've got the tailbone at the back. And your pelvic floor muscles basically run between those 4 bony landmarks. So one way to think about a pelvic floor contraction, and it is kind of quite subtle, is to imagine you're gently drawing the sitting bones on either side of the pelvis and the front and the back of the pelvis in towards each other and lifting up. It's kind of like a little movement, almost like you're lifting up the center of a hanky. So it's a drawing in and up. Now that cue of drawing the sitting bones and the front and the back of pelvis in towards each other often makes sense if you've done a bit of pelvic floor work beforehand, but sometimes we need a less subtle cue when you first begin. So if you need a less subtle cue, something a bit more obvious, I want you to imagine that you're down at the beach on a really cold winter's day. And as you're walking into the water kind of creeps up your thighs, and it gets to a certain point with that really cold water where everything lifts, and that's your pelvic floor. Okay? So working with whichever cue works best for you. I'm going to have you initially taking your fingers just inside your hip bones. So not quite on the hip bones, but on the little divot just inside your hip bones, so you can feel the soft tissue and the muscles underneath your fingers there. And initially we're going to take a few just relaxed breaths. So I'm going to have you breathing in and gently allowing the tummy to expand, and then just a soft, relaxed breath out. And you just do that yourself, your own time, just a few times through. So again, breathing in, just allow the tummy to gently soften and expand. And then breathe out and sigh the air out. Now again, when you're ready, take a breath in. And this time, as you breathe out, you're going to think of engaging that pelvic floor. So sitting bones and front of the back of the pelvis drawing in, or cold water down at the beach, everything gently lifts up. And then when you're ready, breathe in and let it relax down again. The belly softens and the pelvic floor releases. Breathe in once more. Again, as you exhale, draw the sitting bones and the front of the back of the pelvis in, and it's a gentle, subtle sense of lift up. And then again, just relax and release down. Now, I just want you to continue just playing with a few repetitions of that movement in your own time. And I want you to check as you're doing it that you're not getting any gripping in your glutes, your backside, or in your thighs. So ideally, it's just that very almost internal sort of activation, drawing in and lifting up through the pelvic floor. It's quite a subtle movement when you first start. Now you'll know you've got it right if, as you draw on your pelvic floor, you feel a tiny sense of tightening and drawing in those muscles just beneath your fingers. And what you're feeling when you feel that little draw in those muscles beneath your fingers is that deep abdominal muscle that I was talking about before, the transverse abdominis. So your pelvic floor and your transverse abdominis are designed to work together. When your pelvic floor engages, your TA, as we often call it, abbreviate it to, your deep abdominals, engage or co-contract with it. So that we're going to be activating the abdominal muscles through our Pilates class today by drawing the pelvic floor on and then using that to get us into those deep abdominal muscles as we go. Now, once you've got a little bit of a sense for that movement, we're actually going to come down onto the floor and we're going to have you lying down onto your back. So a lot of our Pilates exercises that we do, initially in particular, are going to be down on your back on the floor. So if I have you coming and just lying down, and you're going to have your knees bent and your feet just about hip bone width apart. Now when you lie onto the floor, I want you to check, you don't want to have your back completely flat into the floor, but neither do you want it really massively arched away. Ideally in Pilates, when we start to work, we begin from a position which we call neutral spine, which basically mimics the natural curves of your spine that you should have when you're standing. So when we're standing, we don't want to have really exaggerated curves, obviously, that's not good posture. But we also don't want to have a completely flat back, because the curves in our spine act as shock absorbers during everyday activity. So if your back is very, very flat, it's actually much more sort of prone to injury. So in this position initially, just do a couple of little tilts of your pelvis. So you're just going to rock your pelvis back towards you, let the lower back flatten out into the mat. And then let your tailbone just release away and drop down into the floor. And then just try that a couple of times, just rocking your pelvis forward and back, just feeling a little bit of mobility and kind of freedom in around the hips and the pelvis, and feeling what it feels like to completely flatten your back out, and then also to create almost too much of an arch in your back. Make sure you work within a range that feels really comfortable for you though. Nothing that ever should pull into your back, otherwise you know you've gone too far. And then when you're ready, just start to reduce that range, make it a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller, until you come into a position right in the middle between those two extremes. So there should be a tiny amount of space just down under your lower back. And if you find your hip bones and your pubic bone at the bottom of the pelvis, those three bony landmarks should be roughly parallel to the floor. Okay, so this is what we call our neutral spine position. So once you've found this position, let's see again if we can get our pelvic floor and our deep abdominal activation here. Take your fingers once more just towards the inside of your hips. You're going to take a breath in and let your tummy just soften and expand a little. And then as you breathe out, see if you can get that little lift of the pelvic floor and that little sense of drawing in through the tummy. So again, the tummy should sink a little bit away from your fingers. Again, take a breath in. And as you exhale, find that little lift of the pelvic floor and the little sink of the tummy. And you can keep going with a couple more repetitions there again in your own time. And you'll know you're getting this movement right if, as you draw on the pelvic floor and the lower tummy, your pelvis stays perfectly stable and still. So I don't want you pulling your tummy on and tucking your pelvis back, yeah? So maybe just try one more and just see if you can get that sense of just that deep internal activation. And then when you're ready, release that off and totally let those muscles go, soften. Okay, so now we're going to get really exciting and we're actually going to add some movement into it. So from here, keep those hands just inside the hip bone so you can feel what's going on in your tummy. Take a breath in to prepare. As you breathe out, sink the tummy, engage the pelvic floor so you feel that softening through the belly, and allow one leg just to float up to tabletop. This is what we call a tabletop position, my shins forming the top of the table. Breathe in, let the tummy soften and relax, and as you breathe out, pelvic floor and lower belly, and then allow the leg to float back down. Okay? So again, taking a breath in, as you breathe out, pelvic floor and lower tummy draw on, opposite leg floats now to tabletop. So we swap from side to side. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, sink the tummy and float the leg back down. Now there's a heck of a lot to think about with this simple exercise when you first start. You've got the breath pattern, you've got the muscles, you've got the movement itself. And in addition, I want you to really focus on your pelvis staying very still as you move the leg from side to side. So there's no rock or tip of the pelvis from one side to the next. So I apologize, it's probably going to be a bit of brain work here at the moment, but you'll find quite quickly with a little bit of practice, this movement and this engagement of the muscles will become quite natural. So let's try a couple more repetitions here. So again, you take a breath in. As you breathe out, sink the tummy. The lower belly melts flat to your spine. You float one leg up to tabletop. Keep the opposite hip really heavy into the floor. Breathe in there. As you breathe out, pelvic floor and lower tummy. Make sure the tummy finds that sink first and then move. We'll take it to the other side again. Breathing in. Breathe out, sink the tummy. Pelvic floor and lower belly. Allow the leg to float to tabletop with no rock or shift in the pelvis. Again, take a breath in there. Breathe out, sink the tummy. And allow that leg back down. One more repetition each side, then we're going to get a bit more exciting. Breathe in. As you breathe out, sink the tummy, float one leg to tabletop. Breathe in there. As you breathe out again, sink the tummy, allow the leg to float back down towards the floor. And then it's our final repetition. We take a breath in. Breathe out, sink the tummy, allow the other leg to float. Breathing in there. And then sink the tummy and allow that leg to float back down. Okay, so now we're going to make it a bit more challenging. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, sink the tummy, allow the first leg to float. And this time we're going to hold it here. Take a breath in again. And as you breathe out, sink the tummy even more. Really draw that belly in towards the spine and allow the other leg to float up as well. Now just check what's going on with your tummy there. If you feel your tummy doming out or pressing out towards you, I want you to just bring the knees a little closer in towards you until you feel like that lower tummy can just sink in flat. And so when we go to tabletop position with both legs in the air, our goal is just to find the position where the belly can be perfectly flat. Our eventual goal will be to have the legs out at a perfect tabletop with the knees directly above the hips. But initially, you want to focus really on the form and making sure you get those deep abdominal muscles working. So find the point where the tummy can sink. Now from here, keep the tummy sinking in flat to the spine, and you're just going to allow one foot to start to float down towards the floor. Just a little way, it doesn't have to go all the way. Again, just as far as you can with the tummy drawing into the spine, and then float it back up. Soften the front of the thigh. You can let the back even sink a little heavy towards the floor here. Melt the belly flat and allow the other leg just to reach down just a little way, and then just float it back up. And just continue with a few repetitions here in your own time. Breathing out to take it down. Breathe in to allow the leg to float. Now, if you feel any work at all in your back muscles here, then just go back into that little exercise that we started with one foot on the floor and just one leg lifting up off the floor at a time, okay? You don't want any work at all in the back muscles. If your tummy muscles start to fatigue and go on holiday, that's when the back muscles start to take over. So if you start to feel the work in the back muscles, there's no point continuing on with the movement. You're strengthening the wrong muscles. Take a little break or ease it off to an easier level. Okay, from here, just allow that leg to float up and then just take it once more to the other side. Bring both knees up and gently just hug both knees into your chest for a little moment. And then we're going to rest one foot and the other down onto the floor. So from here, we're going to start to mobilize our spine. We take a breath in. As you breathe out, sink the tummy, let the lower back flatten into the mat. You're going to start to peel your hips up off the ground. So you're rolling your backside up off the floor, one vertebra at a time. And you're coming up until the weight rests just directly between the shoulders. You take a breath in there. And then as you breathe out, bone by bone starts to roll down through the spine, one vertebra at a time. You're going to come all the way down onto the mat and let your tailbone release heavy into the floor. And then once more, take a breath in, breathe out, sink the tummy, roll the pelvis back towards you. Again, here the belly should go flat and it should stay flat as those hips start to peel up off the ground. Take a breath in here. Again, breathe out, top of the spine rolls down, vertebra by vertebra. You want to allow the lower back to lengthen and open as you come down. And let the tailbone release. Again, breathe in, breathe out, sink the tummy, roll those hips up. Now check, as you come up, you want to make sure that you stay in a slightly scooped position through the front of the body. I don't want you lifting so high that your ribs start to flare out and you shorten into the lower back. So keep the breastbone slightly heavy, scoop the tummy, and you really want to think of the top of the hips tipping back towards you as the tailbone reaches up to the ceiling. Now, if you get enough of a sense of the top of the hips tipping back and the tailbone reaching up, you'll start to get a sense of stretch or length through the front of the thighs. That's what we're after there, yeah? Take a breath in and then again breathing out, bone by bone by bone, articulating down through the spine. You're going to come all the way down through a flat back and then let the tailbone relax into the floor so you've got that tiny little bit of arch. You're in neutral spine. Again, breathing in, breathe out, sink the tummy and roll the pelvis back. Keep your shoulders just relaxed, heavy, back into the mat. Upper body is loose and free. Weight is even on your feet. Check you're not rolling back towards the heels or towards the outside edges of your feet. Breathe in again there. Breathe out, roll it down bone by bone by bone, one vertebra at a time. And then one more repetition here. Again, we take a breath in. Breathe out, sink the tummy, roll the pelvis back. Again, reach that tailbone up. Think of the knees stretching long over the toes. Think of the lower belly scooping up and in. Breathe in there. And then breathing out bone by bone, coming down through the top of the spine. Okay, from here, you're going to reach around. You're going to take one hand back behind your head, one hand down onto your lower tummy. We're starting to work the abdominal muscles from the top end now. So you're going to take a breath in, let the tummy soften and expand. As you breathe out, find that little bit of pelvic floor in deep abdominal engagement. So the tummy should sink below your hand. And then you're going to curl the head and shoulders up off the ground just as far as you can go with that tummy staying perfectly flat. And often when you first start, the movement will be a lot smaller than you expect. Like you'll find quite quickly if you come too high, the tummy domes up and bulges out, which we definitely don't want. You don't want a bulging little muscle six-pack which sticks out. So you take a breath in there and then exhale and roll back down. Again, take a breath at the bottom. As you breathe out, find the sink of the tummy, melt it in flat. Curl the head and shoulders up, keeping the tummy flat. Breathe in, hold the position there. Exhale and roll it back down. And again, take a breath in. Breathe out, give yourself the time to find the sink through the belly. Curl the head and shoulders up. When you breathe in at the top, think of breathing into the sides and the back of the rib cage so you can keep the tummy connection a little. Exhale again, sink the tummy, roll it back down. We have just 2 more repetitions here. Breathe in again, let the tummy relax. Breathe out, sink the tummy flat, float the head and shoulders up, curling up to the bottom tips of the shoulder blades. Breathe in, hold. Exhale, roll the body back down, bone by bone through that thoracic spine. And 1 more repetition. Take a breath in. Breathe out, sink the tummy, melt the belly flat. Slide the gaze down and curl the head and shoulders up. Breathing in there. And then exhale and roll the spine back down. Now from there, we're going to swap hands. So take the other hand behind your head. You'll find doing the other side feels a little bit different because it kind of skews the obliques just slightly differently, the oblique muscles through the abdominals when you swap from one hand to the next. So you might find one side feels easier than the other. That would be really normal. Take a breath in. Again, as you breathe out, sink the tummy, let it melt flat. Slide the gaze down, curl the head and shoulders up. Keep the tummy sinking in. Breathe in again at the top of the position. Breathe out, slide down, roll down vertebra by vertebra through the spine. Again, inhale. Let the belly melt flat to your spine. Slide the gaze down, curl the head and shoulders up. Keep the tummy sinking in even deeper if you can. Breathe in and hold. And then just roll it back down, bone by bone by bone. We've got 3 more repetitions here. Check you're loose in the neck and shoulders, free in the upper back. Breathe in again. Breathe out, sink the tummy, slide the gaze down. Think of curling up 1 vertebra at a time through that mid to upper back. Breathe in again there. And then as you breathe out, roll the spine back. And final repetition, take a breath in at the bottom. Breathe out, sink the tummy, slide the gaze down and curl. Breathing in at the top. And then exhale and roll yourself back down. Okay, we're going to extend that movement slightly. From here, reach around, take hold of one thigh, draw that knee in towards you, float the other leg up, hand comes behind the opposite thigh. From here, we're going to take a breath in, breathe out, start to float the head and shoulders deep in the belly, and you're going to roll all the way up to sitting. Or if that doesn't work, just come up any way that does, okay? Coming up, sitting up tall. And we're going to go into a little bit of a half roll back to, again, work through the abdominals, but start to open up the lower back as well. So from here, you take a breath. As you breathe out, slide the gaze down, slide the tailbone under, deep in the belly. Keep your feet heavy on the floor, keep your hands firm on the back of the thighs. And you're just going to think about drawing the lower tummy in. So I only want to come back as far as I can, keeping length through my lower back. I don't want to start to extend and arch through the lower back. From there, breathe into the back. And then as you exhale, round forward and then stack up and lift tall. Let's try that again. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, slide the gaze down. Slide the tailbone under. Check you're really soft in the front of the thighs. Breathe into the lower back. Exhale, round the body forward. And then re-stack up tall. And we'll do 1 more repetition here. Breathing in. Breathe out. Slide the gaze down. Slide the tailbone under. Roll the pelvis back from the thighs. Think of the lower tummy zipping up and in. Soft in the front of the thighs, breathing in. Exhale, round the body forward, and then re-stack it back up through the spine. Now you have a choice. You can either stay with this variation, or if you're feeling comfortable with this and want to progress, follow along with me. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, slide the gaze down. Now again, I slide my tailbone under, I scoot the belly. As I continue to roll back, my feet are going to start to glide along the mat towards me, and my hands stay firm on my thighs, so eventually the feet start to float up and I come all the way down onto my back. Again, I breathe in there. As I exhale, start to float the head and shoulders deep in the belly, press the back of the thighs away into the hands. Ideally, your feet just arc heavy down towards the floor. And then you're going to stack up and lift up tall. Breathing in. Again, breathe out to move. Slide the gaze down, slide the tailbone under. Keep the hands firm where they are on the thighs, don't let them slide. Let the feet glide back along the ground towards you. Roll smoothly all the way down. Breathing in. Again, as you breathe out, float the head and shoulders. The back of the thighs press into my hands as my feet arc down towards the floor. Sometimes the feet will kind of want to reach forward to try and get you up into the position. And that's, normal if they do when you first start, but the intention is keeping the feet as heavy as possible. Ideally, you want to minimize that reach with the legs as much as you can. Breathing in, again, breathe out, slide the gaze down, slide the tailbone under, deepen the belly in, let the feet glide, rolling it all the way back through the spine. We'll do one more repetition here. Taking a breath in, breathe out, start to float the head and shoulders, deepen the belly, press the back of the thighs away into the hands, and then lengthen and stack it up tall. And then final repetition, we take a breath in. As you breathe out, slide the gaze down, slide the tailbone under, and you're going to roll all the way back down onto the mat. Well done. Okay, from there, let's roll over onto your side, facing towards me. And you're going to lay your arm down along the ground to support your head, and have your legs bent up. So I want your bottom leg bent up so its knee is pretty much directly in line with the hip, and the bottom foot is directly under the knee. So it's like 90 degrees at the hip and 90 degrees at the knee. Take your top leg straight. From here, you want to find a little sense of length through the top half of the waist, and then from there, we just float the top leg up, and then just lowering it down. Now I'm bringing the leg up only as far as I can go without my top hip hiking and swinging up towards me. So I want to get the movement from these muscles in the side of my backside rather than from just swinging my leg up from my torso, okay? So it can be really useful doing what I'm doing here, having one hand on the top hip, lengthening out through the waist so you can kind of keep a sense of length through the waist as you go. And we're going for approximately 10 repetitions here. So we've got about 4 more. I want you to imagine the work is coming from that area over the whole side of the hip. It's not uncommon for it to come in just one spot in the side of the backside, but I want you to imagine getting a sort of more diffuse activation over the whole side of the hip if you can. Now from there, you float the leg up slightly, hold that position. We're going to bring the leg forward just as far as you can go without tucking or rounding under through the pelvis. So you stay neutral in your spine. Then you float the leg up and down and back in line with the body. It's like an L shape. So again, we take it forward. We go up and down and take it back. And this is 3. Up, down, and take it back. Just continue there in your own time. You should be starting to feel a bit of a burn starting to build in these muscles in the side of the backside and the side of the hip. Should be getting some nice work going on through there. As you get stronger with this series, if you happen to have any little ankle weights at home, you can be nasty and add some ankle weights into the movement. But you'll find even without those today, you're going to get really good work and a really good burn through that area. Let's just do 2 more repetitions in this position. And this is our last one coming up. Leg comes forward, up, down, and back. Now let's be mean. Take that leg forward, stay there, and 20 little pulses up and down, small and fast, so you don't die. So it's 20, 19, 18, 17. Keep the length in the waist. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Relax the upper body. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And rest that leg down. Give it a little bit of a pound. Get some blood flow back into that area. And we're going to come up and we're going to swap over to the other side. So taking it over to the other side, same position again. Bottom arm supports the head, bottom leg is bent up in front, knee in line with the hip, foot directly under knee, and the top leg is going to go straight there. So from there, if you like again, you can take that hand onto the top hip to find the length in the waist, float the leg up, and then taking it down. And again, allow the leg to float and allow it to lower. And we're just going to continue with that movement there. So your focus again is on imagining the work through that whole side of the hip as opposed to just into one little spot, and keeping that equal length through both sides of your waist so you're not hiking up the top hip as the leg floats up. That's it. We've just got a few more in this position. Not uncommon for the second side to fatigue a little faster than the first because it already will have been doing some work to stabilize on the first side. So if it's burning more already than the first side did, don't worry, that's normal. Keep the length through the waist. Now take the leg forward to 45 degrees or as far as you can without rounding your back. Take the leg up and down and back in line with the body. And again, it comes forward, up, down, and back. And again, bring it forward, and up, down, and back. This is number 4. Again, we're going to go for the magical 10, which should be feeling pretty good by the time we get to 10. Halfway through, there's 5. Again, find the length through the waist, and you really want stability in the hip. So there's no rock or tip forward or back through the body as we go. Breathe, however works for you. So long as you breathe, I don't mind what your particular breath pattern is. Just don't go blue. 1 more. Take the leg forward when you're ready. Hold it there. 20 little pulses up and down. So it's 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Relax the upper body. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And bend that leg down and give it a little bit of a pound. Very well done. Okay, from here, we're going to stretch out those muscles. So I'm going to have you lying onto your back. And if you take one ankle and cross it just above the opposite knee, from here you're going to curl up, you're going to reach your arm through the middle of the legs and take hold of that leg that's on the ground, and then just rest your head and shoulders back into the floor. So you should feel a good stretch sort of through that outer thigh area that we were just working. Now, if you happen to be a very flexy type who doesn't feel enough stretch, like if you've got enough stretch already, just stay as you are. But if you do happen to need more stretch because you're not getting much of a stretch at this point, you can intensify the stretch slightly by reaching the hands around the outside of the shin instead of behind the thigh. And that just gives you a bit more leverage to draw you deeper into the stretch. But as I said, only do that if you really need to. If you've already got enough stretch, then that's good, just stay there. We'll just hold here and just relax for another couple of moments. Just let any unnecessary tension drain out of your body. And then when you're ready, release that leg down to the floor. Take the other foot down, swap the other ankle over above the knee. And then again, curling up, take hold of the leg on the floor, draw that knee in towards you, and let the head and shoulders just rest back down to the floor. Again, you're going to let the weight of the body just melt down into the ground. Release any unnecessary tension. And just hold. And just breathe for a moment. Now, hopefully somewhere nearby you have your yoga strap or your bath towel handy. So you're going to release your feet down to the floor, grab hold of your strap or your bath towel, and you're going to place the center of it around the arch of one foot. So I've got one leg coming up into the air. My other leg is going to go out straight along the ground. And the leg that's in the air, I'm going to bend that knee in towards my chest. So the goal initially is to keep that thigh close against my chest. And then from here, it's just as though I'm reaching my toes back to touch the ground behind my head, as you do. So from here, I keep the thigh against my chest and I gently reach the toes back. So eventually we're going to be like those dancers that just take the legs straight back across the body and toes are touching the floor behind you. That's your goal. Hold that position there and just breathe. Now, as you're holding onto the strap here, check that you're getting the pull on the strap coming from the biceps muscles at the front of the arm. So I don't want to see you bunching up around the shoulders. Just let the elbows drop in by your sides and bend the elbows to bring in. You'll notice that I'm holding fairly high on the strap, fairly close up to my foot. And usually, like if I hold down here, I've got to work a lot harder to hold the strap in. If I take my hands up a little further, it's going to be a little bit easier. Now for the second position here, you're going to let the leg come away from you, let it go lower, straighten out fully behind that knee, and then once you have the leg fully straight, gently bring it in towards you just as much as is necessary to get a strong but still comfortable stretch. And you should get a pretty strong stretch here pretty quickly, probably, for most people. Again, just let the body relax into the position and breathe. And check that you're staying really long behind that knee, so you don't want to try and force the range further and cheat it by bending the knee in the process. Now for our next position, both ends of the strap are going to go into the opposite hand to the foot. The other arm opens just out to the side. I'm going to keep that leg really long. I'm going to take the leg initially slightly up and across towards my opposite shoulder. So it's not just across, but it's a slight up movement. And this is that point in class where I look for that change of expression in everyone's face as they hit this fairly unpleasant sort of a neural stretch that you can get here in this position. Again, keep it strong but still tolerable. Like you don't want to be in pain here. Don't force the range too much. It should feel like a satisfying stretch, but it will definitely have some intensity to it. And then for our final repetition or variation, take the other hand back up to the straps, swap the hand that's holding the straps. My initial hand reaches out to the side, and then this time I take the leg out to the side, and I'm drawing it out to the side and also slightly up. So if I was going to take my leg literally just out to my side, I'd tend to tip over through the hips. But if I take it out to the side and I draw it up a little bit towards my shoulder in the same time, that will help my hips stay a little more stable. I'm now getting the stretches a little bit through the inside hamstrings and also through the inner thigh muscles. And you might find also that this change in position changes the stretch through the front of the opposite hip a little. Again, let the body relax into the floor as much as you can. And then when you're ready, bend that leg, bring the foot back up to center. We'll unhook the foot and we'll swap to the other side. So strap comes around the foot. From there, initially, let the other leg go heavy, go straight down along the ground. Bend the knee in towards your chest, keep it there. Gently reach those toes back as though you're going to touch the toes to the ground behind your head. Hold the position. So the stretch here should be mostly in that sort of hamstring muscle at the back of the thigh. Usually it's in the bulk of the thigh muscle here. That said, with these stretches, anywhere down the back of the leg is fine. Sometimes people do get in other areas, such as their calf, for example. You'll kind of get this stretch, typically speaking, where you need it most, so long as it's somewhere down through that back of the leg. From there, when you're ready, take the leg a little further away from you, let it straighten fully. Once it's straightened fully, if you need a bit more stretch, just draw the leg a little more in towards you. So now, typically, most people will find the stretch lower down the back of the leg. Probably the most common spot is down behind the back of the knee, which is where the calf and the hamstring muscles cross over. But again, anywhere down the back of the leg, whether it's the back of the thigh or the calf, that's fine. Again, relax the body as much as you can and just breathe for a moment. So from here, we're going to take both ends of the strap into one hand. Other arm opens out to the side. Keep the leg long. Take it slightly up and across towards your opposite shoulder. So you're feeling that change in that stretch, that really pleasant neural stretch there. Hold and breathe. Again, find a strong but still comfortable level of stretch there. And then from here again, swap hands. One hand comes up to the strap, other arm opens out to the side. Open the leg up and out to the side. So you're getting a little bit of stretch through the inner thigh and also down through the back of the leg. You might get that little bit of a change of the stretch into the front of this opposite hip as well. And then again, just hold and breathe. Okay, from here, when you're ready, allow that knee to bend. Bring the leg back up to center and just release that strap away. Take the strap, pop it off to the side. We're going to up the intensity just a little now. Getting back into some work. This time we're going to go into some work for your upper body. So I'm going to get you coming into position on your hands and your knees. So I want your hands directly under your shoulders and your knees are going to be directly under your hips. In this position, just check that you're not sagging down through the shoulders. So here I'm thinking about just a tiny press away from the floor. Just enough so my shoulder blades go wide and flat on the back of my rib cage. I don't want to push away so much that I start to round up through the back, but just staying long through the spine. Now we're just going to stay perfectly stable. There'll be no rock or shift in the body at all, of course. As you float, one hand forward and up off the floor. Just a little way off the floor, doesn't need to go far. Bring that hand back down to the floor. Take the body weight into that hand, so you shift the body weight slightly to the side, and then again staying really, really stable as the second hand floats off the ground. And again, lower it back down. Let's just try a couple more of these on each side in your own time. Stabilize yourself, and then allow one arm to float. Bring the arm back down. Stabilize yourself, allow the other arm to float. And think of reaching slightly long through the fingers. So as the arm comes up, the shoulder blade is going to glide up a little bit on the rib cage in response to that arm movement. You don't want to lock your shoulders down and hold them down. That'll give you neck tension. So again, find the stability, allow one arm to float, let the shoulder blade glide up a little on the rib cage. Check your neck is loose and free. Allow that hand back down to the floor. And then try once more to the other side. Allow the arm to float up. And then release it back down to the floor. When you're ready from there, maintain that same position, and we're going to stretch one leg out behind you. And again, ideally there's no rock or shift or movement in the body anywhere. Stretch the toes long. It's long rather than high. You'll see if I take my leg too high, I drop into my lower back. We don't want that to happen. Then when you're ready, bring that leg back underneath the hip. Stabilize yourself here, transfer the body weight to the other side and allow the other leg to float. Reach it long, open through the front of the hip. Bring that leg back down. Again, find the stability. You're going to imagine you've got a boiling hot cup of coffee sitting on the back of your pelvis and another one sitting up between your shoulder blades on your back. So you've got two boiling hot cups of coffee, they're full to the brim. You don't want to spill them for obvious reasons. So there is no rock and no shift in the body at all as you go. That's your goal. Take your time as you transfer from one side to the other to find your stability in the position. We've got one more repetition on the second side. Reach the leg long and away. And then we're going to put those two movements together. So now from here, it's one arm and the opposite leg reaching long and away. And then we bring them back down to the floor. Find your stability there, wide through the shoulders. Float the opposite arm and leg away. Alternating sides, good. Smoothly bring it back down. Give yourself a little bit of time to find the stability and then switch it to the other side. Again, remember the movement is long and low, not too high. Bring it back in and then switch once more to the other side. Reach it long. Bring it back in. Final one on each side, reach long and away, energy out through the fingers and the toes. Bring it back down. Final repetition, reach long and away, energy out through the fingers and toes, and lowering it back down. Okay, good work. So now we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to do same arm and leg. So you're going to take your hands a little bit wider than your knees, just a little bit wider. And the key object of the game on this version, when you first start, is not to fall on your face. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift my body weight across to one side. So in my case, I'm taking it away from you. I'm taking it towards my left. And then you're going to reach one arm and one leg away from you, same side. Bring it back down. Carefully transition the body weight across to the other side. So the body weight does shift across. But what I'm trying to get a bit of a shift, but as little rotation as possible. When you first start, you'll find you probably need to twist quite a bit in order to find the position. But your eventual goal, what you're working towards down the track, yeah, would be to keep your shoulders and your hips as square to the ground as you can on this movement. And then slowly bring them back down. Again, just take your time. And at first, when you first start these ones, like these are tricky, yeah? So just kind of play with it. It's okay if it looks a bit wobbly and messy. Just, as I said, key object of the game, don't fall on your face. So shift the body weight across to one side and just play with it. One arm and the opposite leg. Reach away long. Bring it back down. Take it to the other side. One arm and the opposite leg reaching long and away. And bring it back down. For good luck, we're just going to do one more on each side. Again, shift that body across. Check the neck is loose and free. Reach the arm and leg long and away. Lower it back down, and final repetition to the other side. Shift the body weight across, reach the arm long and away, and then lowering it back down. Well done. Sit back towards your heels for a tiny moment. Reach your arms forward. Give your head a little rock side to side. Check your neck muscles are loose and relaxed. And then we're just going to roll up into sitting. Now we're just going to come into a little bit of work to open up through our upper back. We've done a bit of flexion work in today's class coming forward, so we want to make sure that we go back the other way. The first exercise is a little prep exercise. As you're sitting here, I'm going to have you taking your fingers interlocked behind your neck. Your elbows come forward, just in front of you, just comfortably in front. They don't need to jam together. And then from here, I'm going to have you sending your elbows forward and up towards the ceiling. So you're opening up through your upper back. It's like your chest, your breastbone, or your heart is shining up towards the ceiling. Breathe in there, and then breathe out and release back down. Now I want you to find the work here, ideally in that mid-back area between the shoulder blades. If you are uncomfortable sitting in a cross-legged position, just breathe in again as you take the movement up, then it's fine to do this movement sitting on a chair, or you could even just sit with your legs out in front. That would be fine, whatever's comfortable for you. Breathing in once you're there, and then breathe out and release that movement back down. We'll do a couple more repetitions here. And again, breastbone comes forward and up. You want to watch that as you go into the extension, the ribs stay stacked directly over the hips. Watch that your rib cage doesn't slide forward, which is a common little cheat in this movement. Breathe into the breastbone there. And then release the body back down. And then we have just one more repetition. Elbows go forward and up. Send the breastbone forward and up. Breathing in there. And then release down. So as you did that movement, you should have ideally felt that work sort of in that mid-back area across the back, sort of between the shoulder blades. That's the same area that we want the movement coming from on the next exercise that we're going to go into. So for our next exercise, we're going to come down onto your tummy, lying face down on the mat. And I want you to just think, as you lay face down, about stretching one leg away and the other leg away. So you're just long and flat and open through the front of your hips. Your hands are going to come down onto the ground just underneath your shoulders. So my elbows are slightly lifted, kind of like little grasshopper arms in this position. And then start with your forehead or your face down towards the mat. Take a breath in here. As you breathe out, you start to slide your nose forward along the mat. And then the head starts to come up and you start to lift your chest up away from the mat. Now, as you come up, see if you can find the sense of the work or the movement in that mid-back area that we were working into before. You don't have to go high at this stage. I literally just want you to keep the movement in that upper back area. You shouldn't feel anything at all into the lower back at this stage, or at any stage actually. Take a breath in here. As you breathe out, lengthen out from the base of the spine and roll yourself back down to the floor. We'll try 2 more preps just like that. Breathe in again, breathe out, slide the nose forward and up, roll the collarbones back over the shoulders, wide across the collarbones. Take a breath in once you're there, and then as you exhale, lengthen out from the base of the spine, stretch your body out and lower down. And we have one more repetition, breathing in, breathe out, slide the nose forward and up, breastbone goes forward and up. Inhale once you're there, and exhale, lengthen out and lower down. Now on the next repetition, we can start to extend that range a little further, but I only want you coming up as far as you can go without feeling any sense of work or compression in the lower back. So if I'm teaching this exercise in a group class, there'll be some people that are staying just at the level I was just demoing at. There'll be some people that will be coming up part way, maybe to sort of, halfway bent arms, and there might be some people who are quite mobile and flexible who can come all the way up to straight arms. But the critical thing is that you choose the level that's right for you so that you're not working into the incorrect muscles and strengthening your body in a faulty sort of movement pattern. So as I said, no work or compression in the lower back. Otherwise, reduce the range a little bit if you notice that. So we take a breath in again. As you breathe out, slide the nose forward and up, roll the collarbones back over the shoulders. You're going to come up through that mid to upper back, just like we did before. And then from here, it's like you keep that same shape with the body. So the breastbone stays reaching forward and up. You start to press with the hands and you come up. It might just be a little way, or you may be able to go a long way up to long arms. Choose the range that's right for you. Breathe in there. As you breathe out, you're going to start to roll down from the base of the spine. It's like a steamroller is coming along, rolling you down from the base of the spine so you lengthen out bone by bone to come all the way down to the mat. Breathe in again at the bottom. Breathe out, slide the nose forward and up, roll those collarbones back over the shoulders. Send the breastbone forward and up, lengthen and lift. Choose the range that's right for you. Inhale there. Exhale, stretch out from the base of the spine. It's almost like a tiny feeling of pulling the hands back towards you along the mat as the crown of the head reaches away. So you grow even taller by the time you come down. We take a breath in again. Breathe out, slide the nose forward and up, roll the collarbones back over the shoulders. Press with the hands, lengthen and lift the chest. Inhale. Exhale, stretch it out from the base of the spine, lengthen out and lower it down. And one more repetition here, breathing in. Breathe out, slide the nose forward and up, roll the collarbones back over the shoulders, press with the hands, lengthen and lift. Inhale there, and then exhale, stretch it out from the base of the spine and lower the body all the way down to the mat. From there, pressing with the hands, sitting back towards the heels, reach the arms forward along the ground. I'm going to push with my hands to push my backside a little more down towards the heels. And I'm going to inch my fingers a fraction further forward along the ground to lengthen my whole body out into the floor. From here, I walk my hands over to one side of the mat. So it's a side bend over to one side. I'm aiming to keep my shoulders and my hips, in particular my shoulders, parallel to the floor. And then once you side bend over to one side, then breathe into those opposite ribs. So I'm feeling at the moment a stretch all the way down the right-hand side of my body. We're just going to hold this position and just breathe into those ribs for a few breaths. Let the body just relax in the position. And then when you're ready, take the hands over to the other side. So again, feeling that bit of stretch through the side of the body. So for me now, I'm stretching my left side. Breathe into the rib cage on that left side or the side that you're stretching. And exhale, and as you exhale, let the weight of the body just melt a little heavier towards the floor and let any unnecessary tension just drain out of the body. Take a couple more breaths there in your own time. And then when you're ready, walk your hands back to the center of the mat, scoop the tummy, and we're just going to roll up from the base of the spine, coming all the way up tall. From there, we're going to go into a stretch for the front of our hip. So one foot comes forward, and I'm checking in this position as I come forward that my front ankle is directly underneath or even slightly forward of my front knee. Keep the back knee down initially, and I'm just going to press my back hip slightly forward and lift my chest ever so slightly so I start to get a good stretch through the front of the back hip. We'll just hold that position there and breathe. Now, if you are a flexi type and you don't get a lot of stretch here at the moment, don't worry, because this is just our preparatory stretch. We're going to up the intensity in a moment. When you're ready from there, tuck the toes under on the back leg. Keep the hips really low. Try not to let the hips lift at all as the back knee straightens off the floor. Think of the back heel reaching back behind you and the back hip pressing forward. Again, you can have that tiny sense of lift through the chest. So this now should feel like a pretty good strong stretch through that front of the hip. When you're ready, release that leg down, pop the hip back in the hip socket, swap to the other side, other leg comes forward. Press the back hip forward, lift the chest ever so slightly, hold that position and breathe. So this is just our gentle little preparatory stretch initially. Maintain the position. And then when you're ready, tuck the toes under on the back leg, keep the hips low, allow the back knee to lengthen away from you. Again, hold the position, breathe. And then in your own time, allow that leg to release down. So congratulations, you've officially survived your first Pilates class. Hopefully your brain didn't get too much of a workout at the very start of the class when we were working with the very sort of subtle breath and deep abdominal kind of connections. But if you did find it challenging, which to be honest, most people do a little bit in terms of keeping track of everything that's going on, initially, then what I'd suggest is you can always come back and do this workout once or twice more. And you'll find having done it once, even just coming back into it a second time, you'll feel a lot more confident as far as getting that deep abdominal activation and getting the breath patterns gradually. When in doubt, as you go into your Pilates practice though, if you're unsure about things like the breath pattern, the most important thing is just remember to breathe. Again, so long as you don't go blue, it's all good. So from here, having completed our introductory session, and once you're comfortable with this session, then you can feel free to continue on into any of our other basic or open level Pilates classes at all that you like for an increased workout and increased challenge. Thank you for joining us.